We're ranking the 10 most famous bourbon brands from worst to best, exposing which bottles are all label and no soul, and which deliver real flavor and value. From cheap spirits that barely qualify as bourbon to classic distillery legends, every entry is judged on flavor complexity, authentic craftsmanship, and what your dollar actually buys. Ready to see which bottle lands dead last? Let's kick off the countdown with number 10. 10 High used to be a straight bourbon, but that label vanished in 2009. Now the bottle reads American Whiskey, which means what is inside is a blend, part bourbon, part neutral grain spirits, and a dash of added flavor. This legal loophole lets the brand cash in on bourbon's reputation while cutting every possible corner. The result is a thin, watery pour that tastes more like corn syrup and metal than actual whiskey. There is a harsh burn, a bitter finish, and not a trace of real oak depth. 10 High is the blueprint for how a heritage name can be hollowed out by cheap shortcuts. Basil Hayden's shows what happens when marketing takes the wheel and the whiskey gets left behind. The bottle wears a paper wrapper and metal band like a badge of honor, but inside you get the weakest pour in the Beam small batch lineup, just 80 proof. That low proof drains any hope of real flavor, leaving a watery mouthfeel and a finish that vanishes before you can blink. For a price that rivals bottles with twice the backbone, you're paying a premium for heritage packaging and a pleasant story. Basil Hayden's is bourbon for people who wish it tasted like something else. Jim Beam White Label is what you get when you just want whiskey, no fuss, no frills, and definitely no surprises. Every dive bar in America stocks it, because it is cheap, reliable, and built for volume. The minimum 4 years in oak barely tame its youthful grain, and that signature peanut funk hits hard on the nose and palate. Sipped neat, it is harsh and thin, with a burn that sticks around longer than any real flavor. But pour it over ice or drown it in cola, and it does its job. At the end of the day, this is utility bourbon. Functional, not memorable. Maker's Mark stands out for what it leaves out. It skips rye and uses soft winter wheat instead, trading sharp spice for a round, gentle sweetness. That single change shapes everything in the glass. Each pour leans hard into vanilla and caramel, with a mellow, almost buttery edge that is easy for beginners but rarely excites a seasoned drinker. The famous red wax on the neck is more memorable than anything in the flavor. What you get is a bourbon that never offends, never surprises, and always tastes exactly as expected: smooth, sweet, and safe. Consistency is the brand's calling card. For those hunting real complexity or boldness, Maker's Mark feels like a pleasant introduction that never quite gets to the main event. Bulleit Bourbon lands at number 6 for one reason: spice. The high rye mash bill gives every pour a sharp, peppery backbone that stands out in classic cocktails. This is the bottle bartenders reach for when an old-fashioned needs real structure, not just sweetness. But there is a catch. Bulleit's liquid has not always come from the same place, and the brand has sidestepped questions about where its whiskey is actually made. Over the years, sourcing has shifted, leaving some drinkers wondering how much of the original recipe remains. Despite that, the bold rye kick and dependable price keep Bulleit in steady rotations on behind the bar. It is a workhorse for mixing, but the lack of transparency holds it back from greatness. Woodford Reserve sits in the middle of the premium bourbon crowd, wearing its reputation for smoothness like a badge. The secret is in the triple distillation, a process that strips away rough edges and leaves behind a spirit that goes down easy, whether you're a seasoned drinker or just looking to impress at a holiday party. Each sip brings out notes of dried fruit, cocoa, and a hint of tobacco. Nothing too wild, but never out of place. The price tag leans a little high for the proof you get, but the bottle rarely disappoints. It's the kind of bourbon you can hand to anyone, confident they'll find it agreeable, reliable, polished, and always welcome, even if it never quite steals the spotlight. Knob Creek 9-Year puts its age statement right on the label, and for good reason. 9 years in the barrel means this bourbon gets to soak up deep oak, leather, and brown sugar flavors that younger bottles just cannot touch. The result is a pour that feels rich and oily, with a texture that holds up even when you drop in a couple of ice cubes. This is not a thin, forgettable whiskey. It has weight, structure, and a finish that lingers with real spice and toasted wood. For anyone who values real maturity without breaking the bank, Knob Creek 9-Year delivers the kind of complexity that makes you wonder why so many brands hide their true age. At this price, it is a powerhouse that sets the standard for what affordable, well-aged bourbon should taste like. Buffalo Trace sits at the center of bourbon's modern hype machine. The liquid earns its place near the top, with classic cherry and vanilla on the nose, a silky sweet palate, and a finish that pleases almost everyone. Bartenders and bourbon fans agree. It's the benchmark for approachable, crowd-pleasing whiskey. But finding a bottle at the price printed on the tag is another story. Thanks to tight allocation, Buffalo Trace has become a rare sight on store shelves, and when it does appear, the price often triples overnight. The secondary market treats it like a trophy, not a Tuesday night pour. That's the catch. The whiskey inside is excellent, but the game around it warps the value. Paying inflated prices for a bottle meant to be $30 misses the point. Buffalo Trace deserves respect for the liquid, but the hype and scarcity keep it from being the true champion of value. The white label on Evan Williams Bottled in Bond isn't just decoration, it's a declaration. This bottle plays by rules most brands won't touch. The Bottled in Bond Act of 1897 set the bar. Single distillery, single season, at least 4 years aging under government lock and key, and bottled at exactly 100 proof. No shortcuts, no blending, no marketing smoke and mirrors. What you get is honest bourbon rich with caramel, toasted oak, and a backbone that stands up in any glass. All that, and it's still found on the bottom shelf for less than $25. While other brands chase hype or slap on fancy labels, Evan Williams Bottled in Bond lets the law and the liquid do the talking. It's the working person's whiskey, delivering more character and depth than bottles twice the price. In the world of bourbon, this is proof that real value comes from what's inside the bottle, not what is wrapped around it. Wild Turkey 101 wears its proof like a badge of honor. At 101 proof, it packs a flavor punch that never feels cheap or careless. Instead of a harsh burn, each sip brings warmth and depth, deep barrel char, bold spice, and a finish that lingers long after the glass is empty. This is the bottle bartenders keep for themselves, not just for show. The secret is not in flashy packaging or a clever backstory. It is in the hands of master distiller Jimmy Russell, who has spent more than 6 decades refusing to water down his standards. The Russell family has kept the recipe steady, never chasing trends or cutting corners. That is why every pour delivers the same honest complexity, year after year. Wild Turkey 101 stands out for what it does not do. It never trades flavor for mass appeal, never hides behind marketing, and never apologizes for being bold. The price stays reasonable, the quality stays high, and the respect is earned with every bottle. When it comes to real bourbon, rich, spicy, and unapologetically strong, Wild Turkey 101 is the one that gets it right. This is what happens when craftsmanship wins, and hype takes a back seat. Across all 10 bottles, one pattern stands out. Price and prestige mean nothing without real flavor and honest craft. Hype fades, but quality endures, from the bottom shelf to the top. In bourbon, authenticity is the only label that matters. Drop your favorite pour below. Let us debate.